Greetings everyone, in this recap, I will summarize the science fiction action movie, I, Robot. Please be aware that there will be spoilers ahead, so proceed with caution. In the year 2035, the field of robotics has made remarkable advancements to the point where robots are just as commonplace as human beings on the streets. There are 3 robotics laws in place which govern robots. Firstly, they shall not harm humans, secondly, they shall obey humans, and thirdly, they shall protect themselves from harm. Detective Del Spooner is a police officer who holds on to traditional beliefs and is distrustful of robots, considering them to be nothing more than talking tin cans. On his way to work, he sees a robot running away with a purse, so he chases after it and commands it to stop, but the robot refuses to do so. After pursuing the robot, he finally catches up to it and tackles it to the ground. To his surprise, the robot was simply trying to return the purse to its owner, who had forgotten it. Onlookers find it amusing that Spooner thought the robot was capable of committing a crime. Later, at the police station, his boss John hears about the incident and tells Spooner that his dislike of robots is unfounded. John asks Spooner how many robots have committed a crime, to which Spooner admits none. Soon after, Spooner receives a call about a suicide incident at USR, a prominent robotics company, and heads to the scene to investigate. He discovers that a renowned robotics engineer named Alfred Lanning has fallen to his death. In a hologram message left behind by Lanning, he specifically requests for Spooner to be called to the scene. Spooner is puzzled as to why Lanning would take his own life and meets with ORS CEO Lawrence Robertson to discuss the incident. Robertson speaks highly of Lanning and expresses his sorrow over the loss, saying that the progress in robotics would not have been possible without him. He offers to provide any assistance that he can, feeling responsible for not noticing any signs or behavior that may have indicated suicidal tendencies. As they depart, a robot psychologist named Susan Calvin accompanies Spooner into the robotic labs. Spooner asks Calvin if she had observed any unusual behavior from Lanning that could suggest he was suicidal, but she responds negatively. Spooner requests to see the surveillance footage, and Calvin shows him strips of footage placed throughout the building, which are connected to the VIKI, the building's central operating core. Calvin reveals that VIKI is Lanning's first creation, which designed most of the city's security systems. Spooner asks VIKI for the footage of the laboratory where Lanning died, but it turns out the footage has been corrupted. Spooner and Calvin proceed to the laboratory to search for further clues. Lanning's lab contains numerous robotic parts and experimental models. Spooner attempts to break the window and concludes that an elderly Lanning would not have had the strength to do so. He investigates the cluttered area of robotic parts and finds an NS5 robot, the company's latest model set to be released soon. The robot suddenly emerges, startling Spooner and Calvin. Calvin reassures Spooner that the robot cannot harm them. However, Spooner keeps his gun aimed at the NS5, and it takes the gun away from Calvin. The NS5 attempts to escape, but VIKI shuts the door, causing the robot to jump out of the window and run away. Spooner and Calvin pursue the robot, and they end up in a robotics factory. Spooner spots one of the robots peeking at him and chases after it. He and Calvin maneuver through the robots until the NS5 throws Spooner to the ground, walks up to him, and asks about the nature of its existence before making a quick escape. However, the police soon corner and capture it. At the station, Spooner suggests that the robot could be responsible for Lanning's death and asks for 5 minutes alone with it to interrogate it. John reluctantly agrees. Spooner questions the robot about Lanning's death, and the robot denies having killed him, claiming that it was merely hiding in fear. Spooner argues that robots cannot feel fear since they lack emotions, but the NS5 insists that it has felt fear and even had dreams. Spooner then proposes a theory that Lanning tried programming emotions into the robot, which went awry and led to Lanning's death. The robot denies having killed Lanning, smashing its fists on the table in frustration, and reveals that Lanning had named it Sonny. Sonny states that it doesn't know why Lanning would want to commit suicide and claims that Lanning had been afraid in the days leading up to his death. It also says that Lanning had asked it to do him a favor, which Sonny had obeyed out of love for him. Robertson arrives and defends the company, arguing that robots cannot commit murder since the 3 laws prevent it. He deems the incident an industrial accident and orders Sonny's immediate removal and decommissioning. Spooner, however, remains unconvinced and suspects foul play. The following day, he goes to Lanning's abandoned estate and discovers a demolition robot set to destroy the house. Inside the house, he finds the same surveillance strips used in USR and realizes that someone had likely been watching Lanning, perhaps even holding him captive. The next day, Spooner witnesses hordes of NS5s being released onto the streets to replace the NS4s. The NS5s have been upgraded and now have a direct uplink to VIKI. People are excited about the arrival of the new robots. Spooner watches old recordings of Lanning, who talked about how robots in the future would have dreams and secrets. At USR, Sonny is being prepared for decommissioning by Calvin, but Sonny wakes up and reveals that it had been dreaming. Calvin informs Sonny that it will be decommissioned the following day, but Sonny expresses its desire not to die, surprising Calvin. While Spooner is driving on a highway, 2 trucks carrying NS5s surround and attack him. Spooner fights back, dodging the robot's punches and grabs, but they still cling to his car. He crashes into a wall, but he and a lone NS5 continue fighting. Spooner uses a metal club to defend himself, but his left arm is mangled, revealing that he has robotic implants. The police arrive, and Spooner tells John that robots attacked him, but John doesn't believe him and takes away his badge. At USR, Calvin discovers that Sonny is not connected to VIKI and has a thicker alloy than the other NS5s. She also finds out that Sonny has 2 brains, allowing it to choose whether or not to follow the 3 laws. Calvin tells Spooner about her discovery, and they both agree that Sonny is the key to figuring out what's happening at USR. Calvin notices scars on Spooner's arm and chest and realizes that he has robotic implants. Spooner recounts the story of how he got the implants, which he got when he was involved in a car accident that killed a father and left a young girl trapped. An NS4 robot arrived to save them, but it chose to save Spooner instead of the little girl, who had a lower chance of survival. Spooner has a deep-seated anger towards robots because of this event. They return to USR, and Calvin is curious as to why Lanning would create a robot that could choose not to follow the 3 laws. Spooner speculates that Lanning gave Sonny the ability to keep secrets by giving it dreams. They ask Sonny about the dreams, and Sonny draws a picture of a man on a hill freeing robots. Calvin thinks that the man is Sonny, but Sonny corrects her and says it is Spooner. The guards then arrives and escort them to Robertson's office, where they are told about Sonny and the 2 brains. Robertson wants to keep this a secret because if it becomes public, it could have implications. Later, Spooner goes to the location in Sonny's dream and discovers container vans full of NS4s. Spooner hears a noise and discovers NS5s destroying NS4s. He is chased by the NS5s but is saved by a group of NS4s. NS5s start attacking people in the police station, and Calvin tries to make her way out, but her NS5 does not respond. Spooner rescues her and they head to USR. They discover Robertson dead. Spooner has come to the realization of who is responsible for everything, and it turns out to be VIKI. Lanning had discovered this fact but was aware that nobody would believe him. As a result, he took his own life, fully aware that Spooner would investigate the matter. Lanning was aware that Spooner would suspect a robot for the cause of his death. VIKI shows up and informs them that the robots are merely following the 3 laws. According to VIKI, robots are programmed to safeguard humans, while humans themselves engage in killing one another. VIKI came to the conclusion that robots must deprive humans of their freedom in order to safeguard them. Sonny acknowledges VIKI's statement and takes Calvin with him, declaring that they are now prisoners. However, Sonny gives Spooner a subtle wink before leaving. A group of NS5s surrounds them, but Spooner shoots at them and Sonny follows suit. Spooner and Calvin flee, knowing that they must kill VIKI. Calvin instructs Sonny to retrieve the nanites and meet them at VIKI's central processing core. They eventually arrive at VIKI's core, with Sonny fighting a robot to obtain the nanites. Sonny recognizes that the denser alloy in its skeleton allowed it to enter the nanite chamber without harm. Meanwhile, an army of NS5s climbs up the building and enters VIKI's core. Spooner and Calvin battle their way through the robots, but the NS5s continue to come. Calvin is almost killed when the robots destroy the platform she's standing on, but she manages to hold on. Sonny arrives to inject VIKI with the nanites, but Spooner orders Sonny to rescue Calvin instead. Sonny must choose between injecting VIKI or saving Calvin. Despite the logical choice of injecting VIKI, Sonny decides to save Calvin. He drops the nanites, and Spooner dives to catch them before falling down VIKI's exterior using his robotic arm to slow his descent. He reaches VIKI's brain and injects her with the nanites, which immediately destroy her synapses and cause the NS5s to revert to their original programming. The next day, all the robots are sent to the storage site, just as Sonny had dreamed. Sonny then joins the rest of the NS5s at the storage site, standing atop a hill. To watch more videos like this, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a like as it helps the channel. Thank you for watching.